and welcome back to another live stream. Okay, I don't think I'll ever stop feeling nervous about these, but yeah, so we're back. It's Friday again, and hopefully we'll get 3 more chapters done tonight, depending on where you are. It's kind of evening here, so but yes. And also, hello, I'm Amelia. I'm an indie author, and I am currently working on my pirate fantasy novel, and I am documenting every piece of it, including this rewrite, which is me basically having the first draft on my iPad and retyping everything and changing, big things. So this is the second draft. And if you haven't seen the first 2, don't worry, you can always go back and watch them later, or, just chill here with me tonight or today. But yes, so my process is pretty much always to retype everything for the second draft. And I said it before, but it's because it's easier for me to actually change bigger things instead of settle. Because if I'm having to type it anyway, I can make it better. Instead of trying to, insert things and changing just some sentences and wordings. I will end up doing that in later drafts. But since the big difference, since there's a really big difference between the first draft and the second draft, at least for me, this is a good step to do it. And I know I have author friends who will do this for every step as well. So, yeah, and I was thinking maybe I had some more light today. The camera is not picking up really great how good the weather is out there. It looks really sunny on the camera. I can see that. But it's gray and just perfect weather. It will be dark soon. But I thought it felt a bit maybe more interesting than just having the blinds down and having just more black on black and black. Especially since I did not think it through and am wearing black today, so. Okay. Last week we went through the big scenes. We had the whole big event of Captain Jones being shot. And the last thing, where we left off, was after Silver Eye had brought Jones to the locket, and Reaper was all like, why? What did you do to the person who did this? Which, I mean, fair, but also Silver didn't think it through, so. Now, today we will tackle chapter 7, 8, and 9, and, chapter 8 will be moved around a bit, so I will actually have chapter 11 there instead, because I think it makes a lot more sense structurally and story-wise. So I am basically switching places with chapter 8 and 11. And I know in some stories I write, I try to like alternate the chapters evenly, but when I'm having multiple POVs, like more than 3, even more than 2 even, I feel like you could do that, trying to like even everything out, but I usually don't end up doing that. I did it for my time traveler romance novella because there was only 2 point of views, and having them what's the word for it? Like having every other chapter be one character and every other chapter be the other character was easy to have, like Aki, Ryo. But when it's a bigger point of view cast, I always feel like it's better to use the point of view that makes more sense for the story instead of trying to focus on giving all of them enough like page time. And that will kind of be important for chapter 8 and 11 because those 2 chapters have separate point of view characters. And maybe I will have to like put chapter 8 in place of chapter 10 or 12 depending on really where we are. But I will have chapter 11 as chapter 8 because they both take place on the locket, and for this purpose that's the most important thing. Because there will be a lot of Hopewell things going on, but I want to show what's going on the locket as well. But we're back in Hopewell and back with Cordelia again. And I feel like that's nice. Rasmus is really hard to write, so it's nice. We will also get our first chapter with the last point of view character today, hopefully. Or we will today. I'm deciding we're doing 3 chapters today too. So that will be exciting because you haven't met him yet, or like he's been mentioned, but he was in such a small scene. So I'm just gonna get to chapter 7 and we will get more of Cordelia's family dynamic from Cordelia's point of view. We did see a little bit from Rasmus's point of view last week, where Rasmus is scared of Cordelia's brother and like fuck. And like Rasmus is also under the impression that the siblings aren't very close since they are very different. And I don't know, Rasmus is just not aware of what's going on around him. He's very like narrow-minded, and if he decides that okay, this is how I see it, this must be how it is. He's a brat. But we will also like see a little bit of Cordelia's dad, who is the reason she's not allowed to be near the ocean. So that will be fun. And today I've also made sure to have some like music that I'm allowed to use. So we can actually write with music today, which is exciting. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm just gonna get distracted when I'm listening to music and doing this at the same time. But we're gonna see how the sound is. Okay, let's hope this is good enough. Okay, you hear like nothing. fingers. Okay, so one big thing with this chapter is that Cordelia is blaming herself for what happened, because if she hadn't gone out, Rasmus wouldn't have been there, and the whole thing wouldn't have happened. And also, like, her dad wouldn't be this scared and angry at her as well. But, like, he cares. And he's just maybe a bit overprotective. And maybe he just doesn't care the way we want him to. And Cordelia will have to deal with this, like, with all these feelings for quite some time. Because you don't just see someone getting shot in front of you and don't have some sort of trauma. Especially not if you feel like you're the reason it happened. So, like, everyone will handle this situation very differently. With, like, Cordelia will lock herself in her room and not leave for quite some time. And Rasmus will be like, maybe I killed someone, but he will also get the, it's probably okay because it was a bad person, and just being, I wouldn't say stupid, but knowing everything, he kind of is stupid. So, yeah, and, like, Silver and Jones will deal with this in complete different ways too. And we will see how Silver will deal with it in the next chapter. And, like, Jones will be like, yeah, I got shot, I'm okay now. Just don't hug me too tight because it hurts a bit. Jones is pretty much the person taking this the best way. Probably. Pro tip, don't put your drink behind the microphone because it's really hard to get to it. So you haven't seen very much of Rosemary up until now. Like, Rasmus did meet her, so she's not like a stranger, but she's also not very much involved in like the story, mainly because she's staying at home when everyone will go out later. I will try to move this so I... Oh! That was not what I wanted to move. Damn it. Okay. Oh! I can see things behind the camera right now. So I can move this. So, yes, right. Rosemary is Cordelia's older sister. She is the oldest of the siblings, and she's currently engaged to a guy working for her father. And I forget his name. Jonathan. So she's engaged to this guy named Jonathan, who is like, he's a bit younger than her, but also her brother's, or like their brother's best friend. And Jonathan's family has worked for the Delmore family for a while. So, like, Arthur and Jonathan grew up together. Now, Rosemary was supposed to, might not be the right word, but like there was another man involved with her, and that was a whole thing where the siblings really bonded together, and was like, no, don't. Because while the guy was fine, their dad wasn't really a fan of his oldest daughter marrying someone below them, both in status and in age. So the siblings had to kind of bond together, and they did have Levi's support. Levi is their uncle, who does not shy away from picking fights with his brother. Not at all. But he wasn't there at the time. But Rosemary is this really kind and sweet person, and especially with her siblings. Like, she can tease them, absolutely. That's what siblings are for. Damn it, my eyeball is hurting. But she is very much like the one taking care of the other two. She's basically like a mom friend in the sibling, and like she's also the one who has the most memories with their mom, since she's the oldest. So she's also kind of been like the older female figure to her siblings. And we won't see very much of her. She will be relevant in the beginning and a little bit at the end. But she is very important to, like, her whole family. And she's pretty much also, like, the one getting into the least amounts of troubles. And probably the most, like, mature person in their whole family. Because yeah, it's not their uncle anyway. I feel like I'm really exposing how, like, my typing just mushes words together and, like, everything is a jumbled mess. That's how I write, okay? Don't judge me. Okay, so this chapter is mostly to, like, highlight the beginning of Cordelia's life after what happened, and also, like, to show that she has a support system in her siblings. And it will also, like, hint at what will happen between this chapter and the next Hopewell chapter. So there are a few locations in this story that we will, like, jump between, and currently we only have Hopewell, which is the town where Cordelia lives, and Rasmus and Levi also comes from there. And then we have the Locket, which is Jones's ship, where we have Jones, Reaper, and Silvereye. There is also another... No, actually, there's two other ships that will be relevant. Because Levi also is part of a crew. He's part of the Sailing Serpent. And that ship will be relevant later on, for a while. And then there will also be the Flying Dutchman, who is a ghost ship, and you will see about that ship. It's an exciting ship, actually. There are not a single human on that ship. But there's also only one ghost, and I mean, you could, like, they are all humanoid, and one of them is half human. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We will also have, like, in the ocean as a location, and there will be, like, a secret island too. But we will mainly, like, jump between where Jones is and where Cordelia is. And currently Cordelia is in Hopewell, and the people around her are also in Hopewell. But yes, so we will have one more chapter before we are doing, like, a time skip. Because this evening is done, and we will jump into a few weeks later at the Locket, which I really need to find the right chapter. Yes. Like I said before, this is where we are changing things around from the first draft. Like, really changing things around with moving a whole chapter away from here, putting it aside, and we will take chapter 11 instead. Also because when I wrote this, chapter 11 happens quite a bit later, and that means that it kind of felt like this discussion and thing that happens in this chapter should have happened earlier, because it involves Silver and Reaper finding the next bottled letter, the one Cordelia sent right before she and Jones met. And having that conversation, like, oh, I find this letter, come up when it's been like 2 months, was like, that could be like a realistic time frame to, like, receive a bottled letter normally. Because, like, it can take time and it's not guaranteed. In this case, though, it is guaranteed, and they're moving a bit faster than that. And also, like, I think we even had, like, a conversation with the one bringing Cordelia's letters, saying, like, oh, they refused my letter, or they refused your letter, so here, you can have it back. And this probably makes no sense until we're there. But that also made it feel like, yeah, maybe this conversation should happen earlier, because they need some time to return to sender. And also, like, this is probably the first chapter where you will really see Silver and Reaper's relationship. And it's just amazing. Like, these two are so entertaining to write and, like, just think about. So this chapter will, let's see, I'm gonna move this again. So this chapter will basically be Silver fighting his fear of heights and climb up to the crow's nest in the locket, which the crow's nest in the locket that's Reaper's place. You don't just go there unless you want, to lose some fingers or just, you just don't go there. And also, like, it's very high up, so Silver absolutely doesn't go there. This will also be relevant later, but we will get some backstory about the letters and just some more hints about the fantasy world, because as of now it's not really much fantasy going on. And that's because I don't want these characters to, like, know that they're in a fantasy world. It's like if weird creatures lived around here. Like, we don't know what's, like, down deep in the ocean. It could be some crazy things. Maybe we live in a fantasy world and just don't know it. But, like, they live in this world, and for them everything is just normal everyday stuff. And that might partly be because of, like, their whole religion thing going on, and also the fact that they live in a, like, human society and not one that is shared with other species. But it's very much like, sure, things exist in, like, folklore, but if trolls exist, I have not seen one. So, but yeah. I will also have to make a decision here about when Silver joined the locket. Because I first thought that maybe he joined the locket before Jones did, which would make a lot of sense. But now I'm also starting to think, like, maybe it would be better if they joined at the same time. And they kind of just, like, got integrated into this little family dynamic that they have early on. Like, Jones and Silver kind of being like, okay, we're the new people, and Reaper taking Jones in meant Silver kind of came along too. I'm not sure though. And also, like, Reaper has some of the best lines I've probably ever written. The best one is later on, but this chapter does have one of them, or, like, some of them, and they're always related to Silver. So, alright, I'm gonna... So, if you remember, Jones doesn't know that Cordelia is the one writing the letters, despite them meeting. But Silver Eye does, because he saw the one thing she had with her hidden in her dress, like this, and it kind of stayed there, and he saw it when like she handed Jones over, and since he was the one who picked that specific shell out, he recognized it. And like he's been kind of, should I tell them? Should I not tell them? What should I do with this information? Because the captain got hurt, but I also know we've like talked about maybe we would pick the girl up, and like, and he also like heard them mention her last name, which is an important factor because Harold, or Silver Eye, Harold, did grow up with the Navy, and like he was on his way to be part of the Navy until things happened and he was kind of cast out. But he's still like keeping his ears open because that's what was part of his world, and hopefully he might hear about some people no longer being around. But he knows about the Navy's basically flagship at this point, which is the Sailing Serpent, and it has Captain Longton and and Commander Delmore. So he's like, maybe the girl is trouble, but it also doesn't really feel right to not tell them about it. So instead of telling Jones, he's gonna tell Reaper. No. Okay. I think the reason I misgendered Jones so much in the first draft was because I still wasn't sure if Silver knew or not, but now I decided Silver knows. Of course Silver knows. Not that I figured it out themselves, but or not like he figured it out himself. All right. So Silver has only one eye. He lost one of his eyes. And here in the first draft, I've written that, like, especially since he'd already lost his eye as a child, so he was on his way to become the first one-eyed navigator. But also, if he lost his eye as a child, depending on how old he was, and especially like with his family being who they are, I don't think he would have been allowed to study anything with the Navy, especially not anything having to do with royal duty things. Because there is another, like, country that is relevant to this story in this world. And I'm gonna have to look things up. And that's like the Exio Islands. And they're like the capital of their religion. And so they also have this weird thing, you know, maybe not unusual in history, but stupid, which does, like, they're kind of dabbling in slave trades, but not like where you're from kind of slaves, but not perfect kind of slaves. And it sounds so bad, because it is so bad, but like, it's not the people who are from this place are slaves because they are worth less than us. It's the people who doesn't fit what we consider complete standard humans are worthless. So things like birth defects and like uneven pigmentation, heterochromia situations, anything of the sort, it's like, yeah, you're not worth keeping around, so off you go. So if he was very young when he lost his eye, he would be considered like not worth as much as his parents. And I really doubt that, like, the Royal Navy Academy thing would take him in. So I am more like, oh, maybe he lost his eye while he was still very, very much in the academy and very much their highest scorer. So I will need to change that in this draft. It's a small fact, but it still, like, I like to have my characters' backstories at least somewhat under control, like knowing them and like what led them here. And I also like to think that, like, he lost his eye in some stupid way. Like, maybe just stumbled, or like, yeah. Silver feels like that kind of person that would, like, oops, I lost an eyeball. Haha. Fun thing happened. And I also feel like he wasn't really in a fight or something. Like, sure, people didn't really like that he was smarter than them in their subject, but not anything that would be like, yeah, I'm gonna poke your eye out. I'm gonna have to double check things. Yes. I just needed to double check my spelling because, you know, losing and like lose and lose are two very different things.
Is original captain the right word? Yeah, it's Reaper's original captain. Because it didn't go by Reaper before that.
So, yeah, Harold has a crush on Reaper. At least that's what he's trying to convince himself of. It's like, it's just a little crush. But yeah, he's down bad. That's also something I will have to look into when we get to like later, because there will be a scene with some of the other crew's members, like quite a lot later in the book, where they talk about the fact that like Silvereye is a flirt when he's not on the ship. And they're like talking about it like, oh, because he's so tense when he's on the ship. But I don't buy that no one has seen this through. I don't buy that the rest of the crew is so blind. But like, I do like the idea of them like, we're not talking about this. We all know it, but we're not talking about it. Don't mention it. Let them be. Just let him be, and don't mention it. And I don't know if that's because they're like, I'm not gonna get involved. They can do their thing, or if like they had whispered about it and Reaper had like stared them down and scared them enough. Because the other side, I don't think the people see. But I do think like Silver is very obvious, especially like to the people who knows him. And like, I do think the others knows that like Reaper cares very much about the whole crew, but especially like Jones and Silver. I don't think they see it as, oh, Reaper has the same feelings, but it's more like Reaper cares about Silver, so we shouldn't destroy this thing. But like, Reaper knows. And would it hurt him to show that he cares about people? Probably. Probably. You know? I do. He has his reasons for it. Like, he has reasons. The last person he cared this much about is someone he was forced to leave behind, probably to their death. And like, it probably would hurt him, but please, maybe Silver would actually need it. But like, Reaper is very much the kind of person who's like, he's fully aware of Silver's feelings. He knows Silver inside out, basically. And he knows exactly what buttons to push. Like, if Silver is feeling down, maybe there will be like a hint of a compliment there. It's probably backhanded and probably more rude than it should be and meaner than it should be. But it's there. It's a compliment. Doesn't matter that it's backhanded or vague or just like a hint of it. He will like breadcrumb Silver while not really wanting to breadcrumb him. Is their relationship healthy? No. Is it really interesting to write? Absolutely. I'm just gonna make sure. A crow's nest is like a circular thing, right? Yeah, it is. It very much is a circular thing. Actually, one of the things I've done, like, I'm counting it as research. It wasn't specifically for Wrapped in Ocean, but it was when my dad, on his birthday, me and my brother and my brother's wife took him to see the Vasa ship, because like I think I get my like sailing interest from my dad and my motorcycle interest and my reading skills. Those genes were probably his too. But I took a lot of pictures and was like, yeah, I'm gonna use this to look back on for Wrapped in Ocean. And it was amazing. We had like an amazing day. Now I have lots of references, and like that ship is huge. Like it's gigantic and so cool, and like, did you know it was super like brightly colored? Because like my idea of like ships, especially like that generation kind of ship, has always been like from pirate movies, where it's dark wood everywhere. Yeah, that thing would have probably hurt my eyes at the time. I'm actually gonna see what I can do. I'm just gonna insert the picture here for you to like look at. Like this is how it would have looked, like the back of the ship would have looked like if it had all these colors. Like this is colorful. Now I might actually have this as inspiration for my ships, especially like the Satan Serpent. The locket will be kind of dark, faded, no color left, because it's an old ship, like really old. Thing I looked at was this picture here, because this is the crow's nest, and it's very much a circular thing. Like they also had like a replica where you could stand on, that like it wasn't up in the air, it was just a platform and it was kind of tilting and you can just step onto it, and it was so cool. Like honestly, I think me and my sister-in-law had more fun than my dad or my brother had. We were pretty much just oohing and ahhing the whole day. But yeah, I think it was really good, like, research, and I do feel like I might need to go back and maybe to the other ship museum thing they have nearby just before I publish it, to make sure there's accuracies and how, especially like how things feel, because I stood underneath this thing and like, because the way this museum is built, it's kind of like you have the big ship in the middle and then you have like floors around it with like how things look in the ship, and like they even had the preserved like sail and like how big that would be, and that it's crazy. And also things like cannonballs, and they had like built a room which was like, this is how big this room on the ship was and like how low it was. I could actually walk underneath it. The boys did not really stand tall in there. I think my brother walked kind of like this. But it was super cool to just see everything, and they had like this thing where they showed like the skeletons, and they had like made wax statues of like, this is how this person would have probably looked like. And there was like theories of where they had been when the ship went down. Yeah, it's interesting. And it was really great to get like a grasp of, oh, this is the life-size thing. They also had like a piece of the ship taken away, like a piece of wood from the ship that you could touch. And like, that sounds weird. That sounds really weird. But me and my sister-in-law was just like, you can touch the ship, but you can't touch the ship, but you can feel how it would feel like to touch it. And there was like weights of, oh, this is how much a cannonball would weigh, and this is how much this thing would weigh, so you can just like feel it. And like, oh, this is how it would look like. And people also had like tiny Bibles with them, like this sized Bibles. Back to the story. Let's back to the pirate story. Now this is pretty much like the core vibe of like Reaper's relationship with Silver. The whole, like, I do listen when you talk, I just pretend not to. And like my friend said when I sent this to them, like, Silver should know by now. Silver should not be surprised. He should know Reaper well enough to know. But also, like, Reaper doesn't show that he listens to things. He pays attention to things. But I think Silver is just too blinded by his own feelings. Like, oh, yeah, I know Reaper doesn't feel the same way for me as I do for him, so he doesn't care. He's more annoyed with me. But also, like, this whole conversation didn't have to happen. Because probably what also could have happened would be if Silver was like, yeah, but I don't want Jones to have the bottles anymore. Reaper, like, of course Reaper's gonna ask why. But if Silver had just said, no, I don't think it's a good idea, Reaper would say, okay, you probably have your reasons, I'm gonna poke you for them, but okay, I'll deal with it. Because that's what Reaper does. If Silver sets his mind to something, Reaper will make it happen. Except for the whole romantic thing. The whole crush Silver is having, because that is not happening. And even that is more like, yeah, no, it's not good for either of us. It's for Silver's best, and like a part of Reaper just wants Silver to leave the ship. Not because he doesn't want him around, but because he's very much like, I want you to die peacefully, not on the ship, because I don't want to be there when it happens. I love them. They're stupid and kind of idiots, but we love them. We love them so much. So we're going back. Oh, okay. Okay. Now I'm starting to feel like 3 chapters is like quite a while to sit and do this and try to be entertaining sometimes. Now what I'm usually like doing when I'm rewriting that I don't always say out loud because like it's kind of hard to do this talking while I'm writing something. And while I do try to be like, oh, here I am changing this thing, I am also changing just like wordings of things. Things like my first draft said that Reaper hadn't sounded annoyed. And I was like, yeah, Reaper always sounds annoyed. So just added the to annoyed. Most of the time it's like small things like that that's happening too. And things like, oh, okay, this line is... it doesn't matter. It's not important. It doesn't add anything. So we're taking that away. And also like this line here. Well, you never shut up. As you might have seen, I was almost building on it. Like, well, you never shut up, so what choice do I have? But I also feel like you don't need that extra thing to understand the implication. So things like that is happening just as I'm writing things. And I realize I'm not saying that because I kind of zone out. And I do understand why people usually do like sprints in live streams. Now I can't do sprints. So I'm trying to talk you through what I'm doing instead. Like, I think sprints are a great idea if you can do them. I am very much a person who... I can do that first, like, 20-minute part of the sprint. That break causes trouble for me. And I can't go back into it. And often for me, like, those 20 minutes is just enough to get me really focused and into it, and then I'm just picked out. So the last chapter for today, because we've already been going for quite a while now, will be Levi's first chapter. And Levi is Cordelia's uncle and the commander of the Sailing Serpent. We will also have a little bit of time skip because this takes place like 3 months after Levi left. And let's see. Like, we don't have a, oh, this is how long it's been since our first chapter, when there's like, oh, we're nearing land. And maybe that land is Hopewell. Maybe it's been some more time. No, it's been a few months. And Cordelia has been kind of knocked out and depressed for at least 2 months. And it's also like Levi doesn't know time. Like this chapter literally starts with like, oh, how long had he been gone this time? 2 months? 3? 3 sounded about right. Alright, I also had this. I'm just reading through a bit. Like, also, Levi is fully aware that he isn't good at making conversations, and he's even worse at ending them. And I kind of know already that I will need to implement this more. And have, like, other people end conversations with him. Because Levi is kind of like, he's doing well. He's good at his job. He can socialize with people fairly well. Might be kind of awkward sometimes and kind of not really understanding every social cue. And he's also the kind of person who will leave you standing in the doorway when you say, yeah, I think it's getting kind of late. And he will just continue talking. And sometimes you'll be like, what is he talking about? I just need... And then you would stand in the doorway with your shoes on for an hour. Well, nothing is really being said because he's also bad at making good conversations. utställning. So my first draft actually has like, there we can see it, like square brackets, and I have written town name, and even like made a comment to myself to come up with time name. So I am actually like having my first draft in Apple Books, so I can highlight and make comments, just so you know how it looks. And also, like, I am using square brackets. I have used square brackets for a lot of things in this draft. This is actually another dilemma I have, because I feel like having similar names can be really annoying when I read and I mix them up. And having Arthur and Anthony, those are kind of similar, and those two will be in the same scenes quite a bit. But also, like, maybe it's okay because they are also a bit different. I don't know. It's one of those names that I'm like, I might have to change this name. But both of their names suits them so well. I don't know, it's just a hard thing and something I like to think about. Especially because I know I am pretty bad at names when I read things, and it has been frustrating for me in some books. Okay, so since we're writing fantasy, I can't use my normal expressions. Or like, of course you can, but I was, I had written like, what the hell happened? But then I'm like, I don't think hell is like kind of fitting into this world. So, for now we're doing what in the ocean depth happened. I will need to look at this at a later draft. Be like curse words in this world. Like the same expression was easy in Keep Me Breathing, because then I just changed it to what the hells. Because like demons are kind of a thing in the world building there. And like the 3 founders of the Infernal Cave is the Dukes of Hell. But here, I have not really worked out the religion part very much. Like, I am very much a like discovery person when it comes to world building. I am kind of making the things that I need. And there's some things that are just fun. Ooh, maybe Levi just doesn't use Rasmus's name. That would suit him more, like as a character. Drama fights. Like, I really want this chapter to showcase how protective Levi is of his nieces and nephew. And also, like, Levi would probably kill someone if they hurt his brother, but he also has no problem calling out his brother's BS and when he's being stupid. Once again, because that's what siblings are for. I actually have like a comment for this line that's like, did I really put this in here already? Because Arthur used to be very much like Cordelia. Very much like Cordelia. And like, he also wanted to join the Navy as a kid. But he kind of gave up that dream for his sister's sake. And like, people kind of forget about it because he doesn't mention it anymore. And like, Levi will have like a realization that, oh crap, I have forgotten my only nephew's dream to keep an eye on my youngest niece instead. And I am pretty sure, like, Cordelia and Rosemary are the only ones who knows and still, like, remembers it. We did it! 3 chapters! And a lot of misspelled names. This was a bit of a longer live stream, and maybe it's because I'm not working tomorrow, and also, like, we had this Vasaship talk and some bigger chapters than we usually have. So I will do this again next week, and we will look at some other chapters. We will get to meet the crew of the Serpent and a bit more of the Locket crew. As well as Cordelia will revisit the beach. and have her letter returned. And that's probably where the rest of everything will start. So I hope you will, just keep being excited for this story. And yeah, I think that's it for this. And like always, if there's anything you're wondering, just ask. You can leave a comment down on the video on demand video or just ask me anywhere if there's anything you're wondering about. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great adventure, and I hope to see you next week. Bye!